It's not a decision that he has taken in consultation with the political parties. He has taken it separately. He has again talked about the reforms, that we need to do the reforms. But he is not an elected government. He is not a constitutional government. He is not a legitimate government. The credibility of the interim government, interim regime has gone down a lot. So I think that there will have to be a new caretaker government, non-party, neutral caretaker government.
Bangladesh, that is, fresh elections will take place in Bangladesh in April 2026. How do you see it now?
Well, I think it's controversial, this announcement, for 2 or 3 reasons. First of all, some of the political parties have opposed it. Even BNP themselves have said that we want it earlier, we want it by December. So it's not a decision that he has taken in consultation with the political parties. He has taken it separately. Secondly, he has again talked about the reforms, that we need to do the reforms. But he is not an elected government. He is not a constitutional government. He is not a legitimate government. So there's no reason for such a government. It's an interim government. There's no reason and no constitutional provision for them to do reforms. They must have early elections, and then the elected government will look at what reforms they want. So that is the second point. The most important point, I think, is that just 2 weeks ago, the army chief, General Wakaruzzman, the army chief of Bangladesh, he had a big darbar, sabha, with all his army officers in uniform, including those serving abroad. They joined on Zoom and so on. And in that, he had made 3 or 4 conclusions that came out of the discussions with the army officers. And the most important one was the demand that there must be elections by December of this year. So that is another very important point. The army has not said anything so far about the decision by Professor Yunus. But this is something very important to see what the army will think. And finally, how will the elections be conducted? There has to be a caretaker government. Mohammed Yunus cannot head a caretaker government because in his government there are political party representatives. There are representatives of Islami Andolan Bangladesh. There are people in his party who then have left and formed a political party of their own. They were advisors to him, and they're still very close to him. There are people who are his special assistant. They are in the Hizb ut-Tahrir, and they are now advisors in the government. So the credibility of the interim government, interim regime has gone down a lot. So I think that there will have to be a new caretaker government, non-party, neutral caretaker government, and then they should conduct the elections by December of this year.
Chief Advisor Mr. Yunus has also accused that domestic and international supporters of the defeated fascist government of attempting to destabilize the interim government.
No, I think that is absolutely an incorrect statement, because actually it is Mohammed Yunus who has decided to ban the activities of the Awami League. The Awami League is the single largest party in Bangladesh. It has a vote bank of about 40%, at least, if not more. And we do know that at the end of 7 or 8 months after Mohammed Yunus started the interim regime, the popularity of the Awami League was intact, because people were still saying that we want the Awami League, it was better earlier. So I think it is in response to this continuing popularity of Awami League that the interim regime decided to ban the activities of the Awami League. Now that is a very significant deterrence for the election, because everybody has been saying that the elections must be free, fair and inclusive. Everybody must be allowed to take part. All registered political parties must be allowed to take part. So I think the effort to ban the Awami League has been wrong, has not been well received by the people of Bangladesh. And now, because it's not been well received by the people of Bangladesh, so Professor Yunus is talking about a state of war. What is he talking about? He is responsible for the law and order. So the army, in fact, seeing this complete chaos that is going on in Bangladesh, has been saying, they said in their meeting that they will not tolerate any mob violence or any anarchy, because actually this regime has been ruling by mob violence and by anarchy. They have been killing Awami League people. In fact, yesterday, one Rights and Risk Action Group, it is a very well-known group based here in Delhi, and they have actually put out a report which they are taking to the International Criminal Court, saying that Awami League people have been killed. They've given names and references in the hundreds and they're being brutally murdered actually. And so there is a lot of disturbance because of this. And this is being done by the Jamaat-e-Islami and with the knowledge of Muhammad Yunus. So I don't know what he's talking about, the state of war. This is something that he is creating himself in Bangladesh.
In the past few years, we have seen of Prime Minister Trudeau, the relationship between India and Canada, ma'am. Now, the President, Mark Carney, has called Prime Minister Modi and invited him to participate in G7 summit, ma'am. How do you see it as a? Is it a path-breaking relation? Is it gonna be a situation like path-breaking in India and Canada, ma'am?
I think it's very important because you're quite right that that under Prime Minister Trudeau, the state of relationship had really gone down. The ambassadors are not there; they've been called back to their respective countries, and even low-level diplomatic representation is there. That's all. We do know that all this started because Prime Minister Trudeau suddenly decided to blame the Indian government and Indian government agencies for the murder of Nijjar, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, who was one of their Khalistanis, a known Khalistani actually, a person whom Indian government had told government of Canada about. But there is absolutely no evidence. Indian government is not involved at all. In fact, they have been trying. This statement was made by Prime Minister Trudeau, former Prime Minister Trudeau, I think in 2023. September, almost 2 years ago. And since then, he said, we have some credible allegations. I mean, they have no evidence at all until today, despite government of India saying that, please give us evidence, etc. They have not given any. So, obviously, because of that, the relationship, Indian government was very annoyed with that, very upset with that, and the relationship has been going down. But now in the elections, recent elections in Canada, the same political party of Prime Minister Trudeau, the Liberal Party, they have won the elections, but there's a new Prime Minister because Prime Minister Trudeau had become so unpopular that he was forced to step down as Prime Minister. And the new Prime Minister, who's been elected from his party, has clearly got very good feelings about strengthening the relationship with India. And most important is that the pro-Khalistan party, the NDP led by Jagmeet Singh, they have totally lost the elections. Jagmeet Singh himself lost his seat. He has stepped down as head of the party. So it is clear that the Canadian people also do not want the separatist forces of India who want, they're talking about Khalistan and so on. Why should they have anything to do in Canada? Because Canada is not interested in this. So Prime Minister Carney then decided to call our Prime Minister, and our Prime Minister has accepted the invitation. And it's very interesting that Prime Minister Carney was answering a press conference in his own country in Ottawa, and he was asked, why have you invited Prime Minister Modi? Because we know that the Khalistani groups, all of them were very much against the invitation to Prime Minister Modi, and they had been lobbying the Liberal Party as to not let him be invited. But Prime Minister Carney gave a very good answer in the press conference, and he said, India is the fifth largest economy in the world. We know that today, very soon, India is going to be the fourth largest economy. And to leave out such an economy from the G7 meeting would really make a mockery of the meeting, because how can you have a discussion when you have left out the fourth largest economy in the world? And he also said quite clearly that he wants to strengthen the relations between Canada and India. So yes, I think it is a very important decision. It will be very important for improving the relations between Canada and India. And our Prime Minister has agreed to go there, and when he goes there, he will be having bilaterals with a lot of leaders over there. We haven't heard the schedule of his meetings yet, but we will know very soon. And in those bilaterals, he will be able to explain a lot of issues, and this is the first occasion after Operation Sindoor, after the absolutely ghastly terrorist attack on innocent tourists in Pahalgam, that first time that our Prime Minister will be traveling abroad. So this is a unique opportunity for him to meet the world leaders and explain our point of view against terrorism, our point of view why we have put the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance. All these issues will be explained by our Prime Minister.
After 22nd April, Pahalgam terror attack, ma'am. Water treaty is in abeyance with Pakistan, ma'am. But Pakistan has written again and offered to renew the talks on Indus Water Treaty, but there is no signals from New Delhi as of now, ma'am.
Well, our Prime Minister had made this very clear. The issue of the Indus Waters Treaty is not a new one. It's a very old one, I think, almost from the time it was signed, because it was a very unequal treaty. And these Indus waters from all the tributaries of the Indus River, India was getting only 20%. Of the water flows, and Pakistan was getting 80% of the water flows. And even within the 20% that India was getting, or was entitled to, under the Indus Waters Treaty, there was a lot of spillage, what they call. Pakistan was beneficiary by default, because India was not building those dams and barrages, etc., which we were allowed to on the rivers, that we were allowed to under the treaty. All various delays, and Pakistan would always raise objections and say this is not allowed, that is not. So it was really not working out very well at all. And we had in fact we had asked for arbitration. Then Pakistan asked for another route of arbitration. So it was really very messy. But more than any of all this, so the question of putting the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance has been discussed now for the last 15 years. And certainly, I think under Prime Minister Modi, this issue has been raised again and again. And this time, after the terrorist attacks in Pahalgam on innocent tourists, our Prime Minister said clearly that blood and water cannot flow together. And you cannot think that water is a lifeline for Pakistan, but for India, the terrorists can come and kill innocent tourists and destroy families. And young honeymooning couple, young parents with small children, they've been killed mercilessly in a communal way after identifying their religion. And you think that India will keep quiet. So it is completely unbelievable that India will keep quiet. And our Prime Minister has done the right thing to put the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. All of India is supporting him. In fact, there is such universal support from all the political parties. We have seen that all the 7 delegations which went abroad and now they have come back, they are all talking about how much support they got and how they were able to explain about the Indus Waters Treaty, about the other very precision attacks that we undertook on the 7th of May and on the 9th and 10th, early morning 10th of May, all that. And the world is understanding.